What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome on into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here with some follow-up news after Dre Greenlaw signed that I think Broncos fans are really going to enjoy and sink their teeth into, because we got some good confirmation that this was a nice, to put it lightly, signing by the Broncos. I heard an interview of Adam Schefter talking about how the Niners are having some regret over letting Greenlaw leave. Here's what Schefter said. I think they killed it. It worked out as well as it could have. Talking about the Broncos. The Niners were trying to get back Dre Greenlaw even after Denver had an agreement done with him. They were trying to flip his decision. This is music to my ears, because if you're not a huge league-wide NFL fan, if you're just like, I only watch the Broncos and I really only keep up with the Broncos, I don't have time to keep up with all 31 other teams, and free agency gets here, you might be lost a little bit onto who's good and who's not. Who should you sign and who should you pass on? And there's always one great measurement stick to know if you made a good signing or not. Is the opposing team and their fan base upset that they lost that player? In this case, they are. Now, this is not any kind of case of tampering. There's that 2-day of legal tampering period. So the Broncos, in that 2-day legal period, signed Greenlaw. He actually couldn't sign anything until Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, when the new league year begins. And we have seen players change their mind. It happened this year. I think Samaje Perine changed his mind. Remember, Randy Gregory was going to come back to the Cowboys, and then he flipped over to the Broncos. So this stuff does happen from time to time. But you've got the 49ers on their knees begging for Greenlaw to change his mind. And you know Sean and George Payton were grinning, knowing, hey, there's a front office that's got a good head on their shoulders. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, they know what they're doing. They've been in a couple of Soupies, some NFC Championship games. They know what it takes when it comes to putting together a solid roster. And the fact that they were doing everything they can to bring Greenlaw back, it just goes to show how great of a signing it was. So if you're a fan of the signing, show me by liking the video. If I could like my own video twice, I'd do it. I'd be that thirsty for myself. That's how much of a signing, of an admiration I have for the Denver Broncos signing of Greenlaw, because I think he is going to be a standout player in the middle of this defense. I know that the last season doesn't look great for Greenlaw. Only played 2 games, recovering from the Achilles injury from the previous Super Bowl. But go back to 2023 with me. Go back to 2022 with me. And this is a linebacker that was overshadowed because he was working next to, a couple of really good players you might have heard of from time to time. Talanoa Hufanga being one of them. Just a few guys like that. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, just some nobodies here. It's in there. Scroll up a little bit. So Greenlaw, if you really take a look at what he was able to do in 2023, this is a season I'd rather focus on because he actually played pretty much the entire year. And here are his PFF grades, which we shared on an episode a few days ago. He ranked 23rd out of 82. So you're getting a top quarter percentile linebacker, top third percentile linebacker, and you're paying him basically 1 year, $11 million in change. Because the way the contract is structured, there's no guaranteed money outside of $2 million for 2026. So if you don't get the healthy version of Greenlaw, I'll be the first one to admit I was wrong about it, and I thought it'd be better than it worked out. But I'm confident I won't have to make that statement, because I believe 2 years removed from that Achilles injury, he's going to look like the guy who played out of his mind in 2023 and 2022. So, the former 5th-round pick in 2019 out of Arkansas has got a good home in Denver. I'm excited to see what he can do over the course of his career with the Broncos. I expect it to be a career longer than just 1 or 2 seasons. I'll go on the record and say right now, I believe Dre Greenlaw will be a Denver Bronco for at least 4 seasons. I think a second contract will be coming his way, and I think for the short term, it's going to do wonders for this Denver defense. Not that the inside linebacker position was dreadful last year. Cody Barton did a good job of filling in for Singleton. Strnad was able to hold his own. But you were looking to improve, and you made an improvement. Greenlaw is better than the two guys you had back there last year. You get Singleton back from an injury, and you got two adequate run stoppers to say the least, but on top of that, two guys that can help out a lot in coverage as well. Greenlaw more so than Singleton, but you got a nice, like, what's the black and white cookie? You know, the yin and yang cookie? You know, like from Seinfeld, the one that got, I think it was Elaine sick. The black and white cookie? Okay, yeah. So Singleton is going to be flying all over the field, gobbling up running backs. Greenlaw is not bad at run stopping, but he's also great when it comes to coverage for an inside linebacker. And these two players are going to complement one another very nicely. So let me know, of the three notable signings by the Broncos, which one was your favorite? Hufanga, Greenlaw, or Engram? As much glazing as I've done for Greenlaw in the last 5 minutes, Hufanga is still my favorite because of the ceiling level. But I think we're going to see a new side of Dre Greenlaw. And now that he's not in the shadow of Fred Warner, he's going to show the NFL he is one of the better up-and-coming linebackers in this game. Now, next up on the show, I want to switch gears almost completely, like a 180. Instead of being on my knees and basically ripping the skin off of you-know-what, let's talk about something that did not sit very well with the folks over at the 33rd Team. It's like a media company, let's call it a company, yeah, that covers the NFL, and it's compiled of a couple of former execs and coaches and things like that. I don't consume too much of their content to give you a better description than that. But they had the 9 worst free agent signings. Why not 10? I don't know. So let's run through it. Starting at number 9, our old friend, Javonte Williams. If you're expecting Williams to be a 1,000-plus yard rusher for you, then yeah, it's not a very good signing. When you factor in that he cost them $3 million, this seems a little bit harsh. Donte Jackson coming in at number 8. All right, moving along. Darius Slay. I don't know. Steele's got some good play out of Patrick Peterson. I think Slay can still play at the NFL level. Aaron Banks, I agree with. I think this was a massive overpay by Green Bay. He wasn't that great for the Niners, and they're paying him to be a really, really key piece, really good key piece of their offensive line. And then we land at number 5, and they got Talanoa Hufanga. So let's discuss whether or not this was truly a bad signing by the Broncos. You can already tell what my opinion is going into this after what I said 2 minutes ago, but let me try and find a neutral point here and lay out the facts, and then we'll start giving opinions. So here are the facts. 1, he signed a 3-year, $45 million deal. That's an average of $15 million a season with $20 million guaranteed. I look at it as a 2-year, $20 million. So if you really don't like the signing, you're only locked in for $20 million, which will probably be completely consumed by the end of the second year. Now, we have to, once again, acknowledge the facts that the injury concerns for Hufanga are fair. The guy has missed 17 games over the past 2 seasons. All right, he's basically missed an entire year if you can combine 2023 and 2024. His 2023 season was off to a great start. In 10 games, he had 3 interceptions. Keep in mind, the season prior, he had 4 and 17. He was going to be back-to-back all-pro safety, but he tore his ACL, comes back in 2024, doesn't quite look like his pre-injury self, and then he battles with a wrist injury and some other little injuries, and he ended up missing more time this past year than when he tore his ACL in 2023. So, looking at the facts, yeah, I understand that the contract is not tiny for a player that's missed time over the past 2 years. But now I'm going to inject my opinion. I don't give a damn. The guy was awesome in 2022. He was one of the best safeties in football. It was an incredible find by the Niners in the draft. This 5th-round pick out of USC, who very quickly emerges as one of the overall best safeties in the National Football League. And I am willing to roll the dice, and by dice I mean $20 million in guaranteed money, on Hufanga to get back to his pre-injury form 2 years removed now from that torn ACL. When September gets here, he'll be 22 months away from his ACL injury. I think at that point we're going to see the 2022-2023 version of Hufanga way more than the guy we saw this past season. So I disagree wholeheartedly with the idea. Don't go to it. If it is not a very good signing by the Broncos, I think it is a good move by Denver. I like it a lot. I'm struggling to find a reason as to why it would not be a good move for Denver based on his history and not that big of a buy-in into it. All right. I think that's all we got on tap for today's episode. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. But before we sign off, we do have to name... Oh, let's go through the other worst signings the 33rd team had. And so then we'll name a random player or team. You'll see what I have in store for today. And then I can kiss you guys goodbye. So let's run through the other remaining 4 worst signings. Coming in at number 4, they've got one that I agree with, and that is Larry Ogunjobi. Because when the Bills signed him, they did not realize he'd be facing a 6-game suspension. So that's not aging too well. Dan Moore should be number 1. He was not good for the Steelers last year. And the Titans are paying him like he's one of the better tackles in football. He stunk out loud. Harold Landry took money over winning. It seems like he was really not too in love with the idea of signing with New England, but they threw a lot of cash his way. So probably a little bit of an overpay, but Landry still played very well. I know he tore his ACL 2 years ago, but it didn't look like he slowed down too much the last 2 years. And then Javon Kinlaw, I don't think he got that big of a payday, did he? How much did Javon Kinlaw sign for? Let's do a quick Google search live on the show. Because if it's not that big of an investment, it can really 3-year 45. All right, I can kind of see that one because he really wasn't that good for the Niners. So before we sign off, we always do a name a random blank at the end of each episode, and we'll see if you and I say the same thing, team, person, whatever it may be. And since we spent so much time talking about the Niners today, I thought just name a random NFC team. So I've got one in mind. Let's see if you and I say the same one. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. Carolina Panthers. Went with the low-key one. People forget they exist. Let me know if you said the Panthers as well in the comment section. But that will do it for us on today's Broncos Breakdown. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to like the video on your way out the door, and I'll see everyone later.